Ooh, it's super bright. That's better. I think it's better. That's better. Hello, good morning. I have a upside down rose over there as I'm drying. I was gifted a rose the other day by my beautiful sister, Emma, and I'm hanging it upside down to dry it. Who else does that? Please let me know when you are jumping on. Say hi, just so I know you can hear me. Can you hear me? Also, let me know where you're tuning in from, because I'm so fascinated to see and hear and find out where everyone is from. Brooke, Auckland, yes, beautiful. Good morning, Emma, so good to see you. Chrissy, how are you? Whoo. Me, then I put essential oils on the dried rose. Which ones, Brooke? Tell me which ones you put on there, because I have a few dried roses. I have dried roses everywhere. Good morning from Tasmania. One of my favorite places in the entire world is Tasmania. If you have never been to Tasmania, please make the effort to get to Tasmania at least once in your life, because it is a stunning place. Good morning, Susan from Ireland. Beautiful lightworker sister. Whisper is my favorite too. Whisper and passion together is like super orgasmic. Madison, hey Madison, so good to see you. Agatha from Nigeria, wow, this is amazing. All right, well, I will get started, because I feel like this is such a message that I desire deeply for you to walk away from this with more clarity, and more clarity around actually the potency of manifestation and how it's such a natural thing for us. And if you're not tapping into your very own superpower, you're literally missing out in life, right? And so I want you to deeply walk away from this and go, oh, that's how it's done. Yeah. I want to empower you to remember that you are super gifted. I want to empower you to remember that you have access to manifestation, to creating anything you desire in your life. Wherever you think you are, whatever you think you don't have, you actually get to have. You actually get to create. Whatever you're not experiencing in your life, you actually get to call it forward. And this is our gift here in this lifetime, to have the ability to merge the three tools, you could call them tools. We have various different names for the three important pieces to creation: thought, word, action. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Superconscious, subconscious, conscious. These three pieces are in every text, every religion, everything. And in for us, it can be any of those, but it's a triad, right? And it's this triad. If you can nail this triad, if you can nail it, you can create anything that you desire. And there's also the element of the feeling. Now, this is the piece that we miss out on, right? Because having the triad is really good, but taking it to that extra multi-dimension, which is basically really really causing energy to what you're wanting to desire, that is where the secret is. And I want to share with you a story from when I was literally, you could say it was a few months after I lost all of my material wealth years ago. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago now, 4.5 years ago. Now, would it be okay with you that I share with you this story? And also, would it be okay with you that I share with you a really potent tip that you can walk away from this transmission today and feel more aligned with your actual ability to create your life? Give me a yes. Give me a yes. And can you hear me? Yes, Robin is a yes. Let me know. We have 16 on this transmission. I want 16 yeses. Give me a yes. Give me some energy. Yes, yes, yes. So I want to give you a little bit of context. So stay with me through this, because this context is really important. Because this context is actually relative to all of us. Now, I share everything. I share my life. I share these tips. I share these tools because I truly believe we are the same. I truly believe we have access to the same abilities because we live in the same universe. We have access to the universal laws, but some of us just don't understand how they work, which is okay because it's my job to explain it. That's what I'm really good at. So a few years ago, I was, and a lot of you know this story, but I really want to give you context for those who don't and for those that you do. A few years ago, I was happily married. I was happily married, from the outside happily married, and I wasn't never unhappily married. I just didn't feel full, okay? There's a difference. There was no toxicity in the relationship. There was nothing that was wrong. I just didn't feel whole. And for some reason, for me to not feel whole is like living suicide, okay? I cannot bear not feeling whole. I cannot bear being in my fullest creation. I cannot bear, like, I would happily, literally, as long as I have my basic needs met and I don't have to worry and I get to stay in creation all the time, I'm so content with that, okay? But if you offered me a job, this is to give you an idea of who I am. If you offered me a job that was $1 million a year to work for someone else, I would say no. I would affirm no. If you offered me basic needs met to create all day and with all of the costs covered for the creations, I would say yes, because that is what my juice is. So for me, the lifestyle that I had just didn't fit my mold, but it does fit a lot of people's, like, which is perfect, but just not mine. So a few years ago, my father died. Now I want you to really feel into what this would feel like. I was 31 years old. Yes, I'm 37 this year. I was 31 years old, 32. This is when it all started. My father died, and my best friend died, and my uncle died in the space of 6 months. So within a 6-month window, I had literally attended 3 funerals. I had a business, which was a really large investment, $500,000 investment for this business, which was a restaurant. I have 2 children, husband, 2 cars, we'd bought houses, we did all of the things. And the deaths actually crumbled me. I did not know how to handle any of it, but I tried. This was my pattern. I would go to a funeral, I would come home, and I would literally start working the next day because I had roles to play. Mum role, business owner role, all of these heavy roles. And I had to do it again and again, 3 times. Now, it got to a point where my entire self could not handle it. I literally crumbled. Anyways, through that, I went through a separation and a divorce. The year that followed was me trying to, not consciously trying to figure myself out, but I was literally reacting to everything. All of my past self was surfacing. The only crutches I knew was drinking to suppress, but which made it worse. Drinking, drugs, And there was a time where I just needed validation from men because I felt very unvalidated as a person. I was very unwhole. I honestly was I was so like hungry to be told that I was good. I was told, I just wanted to be held and loved, but at the same time, I didn't let myself. When I was with a man, the only time I could be really, truly intimate was when I was drinking, because I was so insecure in who I am, truly. And I can see how this reflected in my marriage as well. I was actually didn't know who I was to the point that I needed to continue to be validated. So I was always agreeing with things that I may not agree with. I was okay with the suppression of my spirit because I needed to be needed. I needed to be loved because I didn't know what that felt like. So this was that whole phase in my life was a catalyst to massive downfall. Now, the year after I went through the divorce, my business, which was in my name, I had 15 staff, 5 chefs, all of the things that come along with operating a business, which is freaking scary. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if anyone's ever experienced having a business or a restaurant before. It's not what it seems. I thought it was the dream. You know, when you go to a cafe and you'll be like, oh my God, I'd love to own this. The behind the scenes is really scary. I'm not going to lie. Fees, legalities, broken fridges, repair. Honestly, I felt like I was in a prison. It got to a point where the business was going under so hardcore. My relationship with my children was so stressed because my son, who was only a baby, was like, Mom, Mom, Mom. My daughter, Mom, Mom, Mom. And I'm like trying to survive this business. And there was this one moment that my son, who was at the time like 4 years old, no, 4 or 5, right? You listen to young Yoda here. My son, I was sitting at the computer, because I was told by, my business mentors at the time, who were like all about hustle, who were all about push and shove and hustle and money. You gotta it was just really aggressive in the approach of like survival, right? Every single day I had to be on emails. Every single email I had to respond straight away. So this was what was wired into me. So I was on edge all the time. I was on edge. And so I remember being on edge, and I promised my kids I'd take them to the swimming pool. And by this time, you got to understand that I didn't have full custody of my children. I literally saw my children every fortnight or every weekend or something like that, whatever the arrangement was at the time. And so I hardly see them. My kids are there. My apartment has a pool, and I literally never took them there because I was always too busy. Mummy was always too busy. But I remember sitting there, and I'd promised I'd take them to the pool. I said, Mummy's going to take you to the pool today. They're getting ready. They got their towels. They got their togs. And I'm sitting there, Mummy's just going to quickly send some emails. Typing. Mom. And I'm like, hang on. Now, the week prior to that, I was actually working with a Qigong. Who knows Qigong? I was working with a Qigong mentor because I needed some sort of flow in my life. And I didn't know what Qigong was. At the time, I was just like doing the thing. He said to me that the first 7 years of your children's life are the blueprint years. I remember this clearly. It fucking broke me. And he said, when your children hear you say, when you say, not yet, we'll do it later, I'm just a bit busy, what they hear is not that. They don't hear, I'm just a little busy, Mummy's just going to get this done. They don't hear, oh, we'll do it soon, give me 5 minutes. That was my thing. Give me a few more minutes. That was my thing. They don't hear that. All they hear is you're not important enough. That killed me. I was like, because my whole dialogue was that. And so I remember sitting there on the computer like this, give me a few more minutes, baby, give me a few minutes. And then it landed in me what my Qigong mentor said. They're not hearing that. But my son's like, but mom, you're always working. Mom, you're always working. And then I was like, well, mommy is working because I'm trying to create a future so we can all be together in the future. And my son says, he literally drops his towel and he puts his head, he's 5 years old. You see my son, he's stunning. Puts his hands on his hips and he goes, but what about now, mummy? Now is happening now, mummy. And I was like, whoa. What am I doing? What have I done? What am I doing? I realized in that moment that I was like, I was so imprisoned in this societal like way to do business that was literally a prison, keeping me in a prison, but also separating me and my children. And I was like, no. I took them to the pool. 2 days later, I went to see lawyers. And then I shut the business. $500,000 investment. I was like, I'm done. Can't do this anymore. I need my family. I need my relationships. I need to know who I am. That in itself was hard. Yeah. Cause you got to imagine it's not as easy as just going, I'm done now. I was responsible and I took responsibility for 15 staff, 5 chefs. And it was just before Christmas. But it was either this or me taking my life because I was that stressed. I was so stressed, I just wanted to jump off the building. And I was like, ever since then I realized I never ever want to do business the way that it didn't make sense to me to live life that way. It didn't make sense. So I refused to do that. But the implications of that was I lost everything. Livelihood. Eventually, within a couple of months, maybe even weeks, I was kicked out of my apartment. I couldn't pay rent. I was abandoned by my family. Like I had no one. My dad wasn't even here. I was, there was just everything. I eventually lost my car. My children, I thank goodness I had such a great relationship with my ex-husband, his partner, and his mum, because I had to just I can't be a mother right now. I can't do it. And this it takes a lot for me to share, but this is the truth. I literally started from ground zero again. I had my luggage in black plastic bags. I was couch surfing. Thank goodness I had a friend who I'd only met through rock climbing. And a customer, Alicia, a customer who I'd literally hardly ever knew her, but she would come in every day. I put a post on Facebook, said, does anyone have a spare room that I could sleep in? I had no money coming in. I had nothing. I had to ask for spare rooms. If it wasn't that, it was on the street. That was literally the predicament I was in. And so, thank God, she was like, we have a spare room and I want to take you in. They took me in like their own family. She just allowed me to get on my feet for a couple of months. And this is when I was introduced to network marketing. So it was all new to me, but it was something that was outside the system because I refused to ever go back into the system of business in the way that it was. So thank goodness the network marketing kind of generated some income. I was always, my basics were always taken care of. I was living very minimally. And then I had another friend who said, hey, we've got a new place. Do you want us to take the room in there? It was $100 a week for rent. I was just like, okay. I think they were really great for me because they weren't there were times I couldn't pay rent. There were times I didn't have any money. Okay. And so it was literally starting from the ground up. And this was 4 years ago. Now the manifestation piece. My partner and I, who most of you know my partner, 3.5 years ago we met and we're everything. We were in a suburb the other night, which is the suburb he lives in. Okay. So we don't even live together. which is amazing. He lives in a suburb that I lived in 4 years ago. So we never even met each other when we were in the same suburb. But we were living in we were in that suburb the other day. And we were driving past this lake. Now, this is what I used to do. So if you can imagine me, I wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning and I would be like, oh, what am I doing with my life? I'm over 30. I've failed my family. I failed my life. I don't know what I'm meant to be doing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I have no skills. Who's going to take me? Like, I didn't want to get a job because I was so scared that people would recognize me. That's how much trauma I had. I was too scared to be recognized because I owned such a big restaurant in the city. And that scared me. So I just wouldn't get a job. I was so traumatized from that. But I would go down to this lake, and I would go down, and there's this massive lake, and you could just walk around the lake. So I would go down there every day, and there's this set of steps, and I would get on these steps, and I would pretend. Now, I want you to really feel this, the manifestation in this. I would pretend my current lifestyle at that time, I had garbage bags as my clothes carriers. I'd lost business, house, income, children, family. I was like, really ouch. But I would get on these steps and I would pretend that the lake was an audience. And I would stand on these steps and I would start presenting to this audience, and I would present as if I had overcome it all, and I'm sharing how I overcame it. It was like I literally pulled my future into my reality in that moment, because it was my escape for the moment. But it was so powerful because I did the body actions. I would walk along the steps as if it was a stage. I would actually hold a mic. And I would speak like this. And no one was around. I was like early in the mornings, but I would speak to the lake. And I would say, and I would actually introduce myself to the lake. And I would share with them about the time that I lost it all. And then what I did to overcome it. I literally did that. We drove past that lake the other night and I told my partner, he was like, wow, that is your life now. And I said, I know. I can't believe it. But I can, but I can't. But even in that moment when all I wanted was for it to happen now, I was like, all I wanted was that to be my reality just then. I wanted to just have these magic fucking wands, and I wanted people to recognize, I wanted people to identify, I wanted all of the things then, but I wasn't ready for it. So I had to dream. And I dreamt it, and I literally was on that stage. And I was sharing my everything that I didn't know was coming, but I knew how it felt to succeed from that. And so I brought it into my reality for that moment. And I imagined I was on stage with Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey. I was imagining that I was on stage with big names. And I was sharing, and I didn't have any gifts that I could share. All I knew I knew the feeling of succeeding or overcoming, but also being able to share that with the world. And that is such a huge piece in manifestation that we're not fully aware of. Is that is the piece, is the being of it now, because it's not in fact just the formula of speaking about it or thinking it. Firstly, here we go. This is what we tend to do. We think about what we want, we try and envision and picture what we want, which is step one. But then we've got to feel what it feels like to actually live in that reality. So it's so important to know this formula. It's not just a matter of seeing. You don't go, oh, I see $25,000 in my bank account, or I see $50,000 in my bank account, or all of, you just like, you imagine it, but what does it feel like, and what are you doing with that money? It's like when you book a holiday, you don't just think of Istanbul. You say you book a holiday to Istanbul. You don't just see it. You actually imagine yourself being there, and that's what gets you excited. What gets you excited about the actual thing? Now, what we keep stuffing up with is that we keep focusing on what we are afraid of. There is no difference, yeah? So the universe doesn't discriminate. These laws don't discriminate. They don't go, oh, well, you're a bad person, you get bad things in your life. You're a bad person, you get bad things. Oh, you're a good person, you get good things. That's just not how it works. That's just what we're programmed to believe, yeah? But if you really want to get to the crux of it, it's only whatever is generated in your life, or what's coming through into your life, is what you're actually putting out there, what you're thinking. So if you're wanting $25,000, but you're afraid of $25,000, or you're afraid of buying the expensive milk, but you want to call in $25,000, or you're afraid of buying, or you're afraid of spending money, but you want to call in money. The thing is that what you're feeling is what you're bringing in. You'll only create in your life what you're feeling. I'll say that again. You'll only create in your life what you're feeling. So in that moment, even though, and it only takes 17 seconds for the universe to really bring that in, to really capture that, to really start creating it in the energetics. Now, it's taken 4 years for me to get from that stage, literally the stage by the lake, to where I am now, which is literally actually doing that in real life. Can you imagine that? From being destitute to where I am now. But those 4 years have been literally laid out for me to be where I am, because I kept in that belief. I stayed and committed, but what we tend to do is, because we don't have it now, or we don't have it in 2 months, or it's not happening in 6 months, we give up on it. And then we start believing that it's not going to happen. So whatever you're believing is what's going to happen. Whatever you're believing is going to come true. Whatever you're believing is going to come true. That is how it works. And I'm not here to convince anyone, because I know that's how it works. Even now, I know exactly what I'm creating. I know exactly what my next 10 years is going to be, because I'm literally living it in my belief system. But we have to also take the actions. We'll get offered opportunities. We get offered experiences. We get offered introductions. But if there's any element of fear, there's a difference between fear and love. Fear and belief. Fear and belief. Fear generates fear. Fear generates halt. Fear generates pause, regression, suppression. Because it's the energy of. But if you're saying yes to things, and you've locked in the belief that anything is possible, I want you to lock in that belief, because those of you that go, oh, it's not possible. Guess what? It's not possible. When you think it's not possible, guess what? It's not possible. When you truly believe anything is possible, guess what? Anything is possible. It really is that simple. But you keep You keep exploring and venturing back to when things didn't work out, but you didn't know that you manifested that thing not to work out because you keep venturing back to the reasons why it's not working out, or the things that never worked out. So you keep thinking that that's going to happen again, and you keep bringing that forward into your reality because you don't realize back then that's what you manifested because you didn't believe it was going to happen. So therefore, then you bring it into this reality and then it doesn't happen. And then you use that as evidence that it doesn't happen. But how do you would you like to know how to literally freaking crack the code? Would you like to know how to make things happen? And it's not what you think. It's not what you think. And it's not meant to be resistant. It's not meant to be a struggle. It's not meant to be hard to do. It's not meant to be like this, oh, I gotta do it, I gotta force it. There's no force in this. Now, I've been working with clients over the last few weeks, and one of the biggest things is trust. Please tell me if trust is something that you struggle with, because I'm going to use trust. Trust is such a powerful, powerful manifestation. And when you can really get it, if you can really understand how powerful this gets to be, if you can walk away with how powerful you get to trust in self, trust in love, trust in all, trust in the future, trust. So, yay, because I feel like trust is so huge. I'm working with people who have trust with relationships, or trust in the next step, okay? Trust in the next, oh God, because we continue to venture back to when things didn't work out. But if you really think about it, things always work out. Things always work out. There is never a time anything doesn't work out. You've just got an attachment to something that didn't happen, and then you base it on that, and it doesn't work out based on that attachment, and then you let yourself down, and you don't see the beauty in the moment and the lessons in the moment, and you go, oh my God, it all worked out perfectly. Tap into your wisdom. Tap into your wisdom. Okay, trust. So what we tend to do is, like, I'm going to give you an example. One of my sisters, she's my business partners. She's taking a massive step soon. Huge. Like literally shifting her entire life. Excited. And then starts to go, oh God. She starts to feel stressed. She starts to feel worried. What if it doesn't work out? All of these things, yeah? And it's just not an enjoyable path to even be on, to start thinking that way. So what do you do? So what do you do is, firstly, you've got to get really wise, and you got to go, where is this coming from? Now, I want to tell you something. Trust is not generated in the mind. Trust is generated in the body. Trust is a body generation. Trust is resonant in the body, not the mind. Okay? But what we've tended to do is that we think that we need to think trust and believe trust in our mind to convince ourselves of trust before we actually trust. We need to flip it. I'm going to give you an example. Now, experiences that you can trust, I'm going to say this again, experiences that you can trust will accumulate and manifest in your life when you generate the feeling of trust first. We're so governed by what our thoughts are doing. We're so governed with trying to think ourselves to trust. But trust is resonant for the body, not the mind. So here is a technique that I teach my clients. You're welcome. I will give this one to you. I'm just kidding. It's a really beautiful technique. It's going to sound unorthodox for the moment, until you actually start practicing it, until you actually give yourself permission to believe it as truth and start practicing it and land it in you how true it is. We manifest and create from our body. Our mind is a tool to help our body generate emotion. Our emotions then generate the frequency, you could call it like a temperature, in which emanates from our body as the communication vessel, as a communication tool to what we want to create in our life. Is this making sense? I really want to let, these are the foundations of manifestation, okay? Our mind is actually the tool that determines an emotion, but it's the emotion that creates your dream life, not your mind. Yeah? It's not what you're thinking. Your mind is generating the emotion, which therefore then brings all of the experiences that align with that emotion: joy, prosperity, abundance, or fear, scarcity, hatred, distrust, mistrust. If these are really coming in your life, it's because you're generating the thoughts that activate those emotions in your body. That's it. That's really that freaking sign. It's really that simple. I really want you to learn, like, separate this. Separate and understand these work as separate tools. But it's your body that is the manifester, not your mind. Your mind generates the emotions. The universe can't see what's in your mind, but it can feel what's in your body. Okay? So, trust. How do we then generate trust? So, my girlfriend, business partner, is in this place of like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know. So, stop. You're allowing your mind to explore now fearful situations that have you generating mistrust in your body. For in that moment, it's not doing you any good, and it's separating you from the truth that everything works out. So here is a technique and it can be applied to any situation that you fear or have any sort of mistrust in. You need to escape the thoughts that are generating the mistrust. But the only way we escape those thoughts is to explore new thoughts. Okay? It's only one or the other. You go from one thought to another thought. You can't go from one thought to black. Because even when you're thinking of nothing, you're thinking of that thought, a thought. A thought is always generating. There's 64,000 thoughts a day, okay? A thought is always generating. But you have the power to go from one thought to another thought, yeah? You can have the power of going from a burnt banana cake to how much you love your child. Yeah, this is just how quick and easy, like we're so freaking, our minds are delicate, but they're potent. You can think of a burnt banana cake for one moment and feel what that feels like to burn your banana cake. And then in that next moment, you can think of how much you love your child. Is everyone with me here? Have you got it? This is how powerful we are. But we tend to like literally just go, oh, the burnt banana cake, burnt banana cake, burnt banana cake. We just tend to stay there. I don't know why. We don't actually go, this is how powerful I am. I can go here to here, like that. Done. Is this making sense? So what do? Trust. Question. Do you trust that the sun will set today? Yes or no? Do you have any fear around the sun setting today? Or rising tomorrow, wherever you are in the world? Do you have any fear around the sun rising tomorrow? So you trust it. Do you have fear around it not rising? So, you see, I want you to tune into the feeling of the trust, that foundation of absolute trust. The foundation of absolute trust. This is absolute trust because the sun, the world, this has never let us down, right? So we can affirm that absolute trust in the fact that the sun is going to rise tomorrow. And when you close your eyes and you can feel it, or when you can just feel how much you trust it, I just want you to feel it. Can you feel how much you trust that the sun will rise and set every single day? There's like zero frequency of mistrust around this, isn't there? Now, when you're ever This is where you get this is the golden nugget, guys. This is the golden nugget that will create, if you can continue to attune to the absolute trust. What happens when we attune to this absolute trust? Guess what happens? We create experiences that align with the frequency of absolute trust in our life. When you can attune, so in any given moment when I feel like I'm like, I start thinking of the sun, and I realize the sun's never let me down. And then I realize life has never let me down. And then I realize I'm actually safe, I'm fine. And I continue to imagine, even if you can imagine and feel the feeling of actually watching the sun rise and the sunset, it's such a beautiful feeling. And if you know that, if you remember that you manifest from your body, not your mind, so your body is feeling that this frequency of trust. In that moment, give yourself the gift of escaping mistrust with trust. Start with that. Start with escaping mistrust with trust. Escape mistrust. If you don't escape mistrust and you want to live in trust, that's your doing. That's what you're creating. No one else is responsible for that. But if you start tapping into these tools, what will happen? You'll continue to alleviate the pressure and the stress from the mistrust, because that's all that's doing. And you continue to just zen into the trust. And then you witness your life unfold according to this ability to do that. This ability is not outside of you. We all have this ability. And that's how you generate trust. For me, who's got challenges with money? Who has massive fears around money? Now, when I didn't have money, like, honestly, I was like in the negatives all the time, stressing out about how I'm paying rent, stressing out about like all the things, everything, buying milk, buying bread, all of those things. That's how I still didn't feel poor. How? This is the challenge. If you feel like you're cycling around scarcity, around money, it's because you feel poor when you don't have money. I never allowed myself to feel poor. I tapped in, much like the trust tool, I tapped into the abundance tool. My first port of call when my bank account it reflected having no money, in the reds. Did I feel poor? I never allowed myself to feel poor, because I know the power of manifestation. There's a difference between having no money and allowing yourself to feel poor and unworthy. I never allowed myself to feel poor or unworthy. I would look at my bank account and I would master the art of feeling abundant at any time. I would look at my bank account, and when I started to feel that drop, because I've been conditioned, we've all been conditioned to feel poor. We've all been conditioned to believe that we are scarce, when we all conditioned to believe that we are not worthy when we don't have money. We're all conditioned. So how do you break your own conditioning? You break your own conditioning by identifying when that happens and then completely shifting your emotions. By completely thinking of all of the reasons why you are abundant and believing them. So for me, when I had no money and I was living in my last studio apartment was like smaller than my living room now. It was so small. Yeah, and I was struggling to pay rent. In the reds, 2 jobs, and I would see my bank account, and when I would see it, I intentionally mastered the art of feeling abundant even when I had no money, which was, firstly, is my daughter's arms. Oh, Who has children and loves when their kids like wrap their arms around you? That was me. You know, that is like that for me, my heart just goes. And so I would imagine that when I saw my bank account, it was in the reds, I would imagine my daughter's arms around me. And then I would touch the walls of my apartment and I would say, thank you to the men that built the house. Thank you, because it's not me that had to build the house. And then when I would shower, I would literally feel the hot water. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so bloody grateful. I am so fortunate. I am so fortunate. Because I would imagine those who don't have water, clean water, running water, hot water, or sleeping on the streets. I would compare myself to those who have less than me. So I felt abundant. Every single one of us has the power to do this. Every single one of us has the deserving to witness your life unfold according to what you're feeling. If you're feeling afraid, if you're feeling scarce, you're creating it. I'm just telling you the truth. We all have this ability. It's all an illusion. We've been told, we've been shared, like it's all been an illusion. Everything has been an illusion from what we're actually capable of. Whew, anyways, I have no idea how long I've been on here, but I've been enjoying so much. Have you extracted, what have you learned from this? Ground it in. Put it in the comments. Ground in what you have extracted from this teaching. Has it been helpful for you? Are you going to literally walk away and go, wow, I have more tools in a tool belt that I don't need to go and freaking you don't have to get anything from outside of you from this, for you to be in your power. There's nothing else. You don't have to go to Officeworks and get something, a device. You get to actually access this in any moment, and it's free to access. Grounding in absolute trust. Beautiful, Tim. Thank you. So beautiful. Yes, I learned so much. Thank you. Thank you, Brooke. I appreciate you. Also, Brooke, I forgot, I didn't see which, oh yeah, Whisper, you put it. Amazing, babe, thank you. You helped me really feel into that feeling of trust and how to bring myself back to it when I waver. Exactly, I need to trust myself, and thanks. You need to trust the sun. You need to trust the sun. The trust, let your trust in the sun and mastering the trust of the feeling of trust with the sun to land in your body. Eventually the trust within yourself. When you start with trying to trust yourself, when you already have subconscious patterns of not trusting yourself, you will not land in your body trust for yourself. Trust the sun first. Trust it so much so the feeling of trust is so ingrained in your body. So when you then move to the next phase, which is trusting yourself, you know what that feels like. So you can't deny it, so you can put the Lego pieces together. It's literally like you and trust and putting it together, but first you must trust the sun. Trust the sun first. This is huge, because every time we try and trust ourselves when we already have foundations of not trusting ourselves or not trusting others or not trusting people or not trusting money or not trusting jobs, or that when we try and do that, that's resistance. We're causing resistance. You want to literally go to where there's no resistance at all. Go and feel where there's no resistance, and then let that encapsulate all areas of your life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you for staying on. Thank you for inspiring. I will take your teachings and I'm really excited. I will actually be launching something epic so soon, which is going to dive deeper into this. And but you'll know that when you see it, because it's like the angels are working on this. We all need to remember our superpower, how actual potent we are. We need to literally shatter the illusions. I love you all. Have the most glorious day, and I will see you again soon.